Hey guys, Belladonna Black here, and here's a creepy little story just for you. As far as I know, the story is true. It happened in a small town called Lurgan in Northern Ireland. This town is actually about 3 miles from where I live, in a tiny farming village, and I actually have family that are buried in this exact graveyard, and I've seen the grave for myself. But it was from quite a long time ago, so you never know. So, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. Times were hard in the 1700s, and people made a penny wherever they could. Some trades were frowned upon, however, and rightly so. One such trade was that of the resurrectionist, also known as a grave robber, or sack 'em up. These unsavoury types provided cadavers to the many private medical schools throughout the UK, and at the start of the 18th century, business was booming. Probably the most famous of the practitioners of this particular trade were Burke and Eyre, who found infamy almost 100 years later. Their notoriety wasn't really due to their grave robbing, but more to do with their fresh supply of corpses to order. They were both originally from Ireland, but they met in Edinburgh, from where they went on to supply students of anatomy with more than their quota of cadavers. The resurrectionists were unique to Edinburgh. In Ireland, surgeons were prepared to pay a fair price for the newly deceased, and this provided employment opportunities for the local resurrectionists. This practice was, however, to prove a hair-raising experience for one such band of grave robbers in Lurgan in 1905. Marjorie McCall was wed to a doctor. They lived in Church Place, Lurgan, County Armagh. By all accounts, they were very happy. When Marjorie fell ill, her husband John was beside himself with worry. In the early 1700s, many illnesses were considered minor. Today, could be fatal, and the fever was a great catch-all for many of these ailments. Sadly, Marjorie succumbed to her bout of fever and was buried in Shankill Church of Ireland Cemetery, not far from her home in Church Place. She was hastily buried for fear of the fever spreading, and that should have been the end of that. However, she was to become one of the most famous women in Lurgan, and is still talked about today. There was quite a lot of commotion at the wake concerning a valuable ring that Marjorie was wearing. Many of the mourners tried in vain to prise the ring from her fingers, perhaps because they anticipated the possibility that grave robbers would desecrate Marjorie's resting place in order to steal the ring. Marjorie was buried still wearing her beautiful gold wedding ring, due to her husband's inability to remove it from her finger, which had swollen considerably since her death. When news of the treasure leaked out to the resurrectionists, they spotted the opportunity to gain themselves a bonus. After the wake, which was traditionally an attempt to avoid premature burial, as the family of the deceased would sit and watch over the body for a few days to see if the person awakened, Marjorie was duly interred in Shankill graveyard. That evening, before the soil had time to settle on Marjorie's coffin, the grave robbers paid a visit, working under cover of darkness. They grappled in the dirt until they reached and opened her coffin. Due to the rumour, the ring was still on her finger. Before moving the body, they attempted to prolong the valuable item, but it wouldn't budge. Being businessmen, they weren't about to allow such a prize to make its way to a surgeon's slab, and since she couldn't get any deader, they agreed to cut off her finger to free the ring. As soon as blood was drawn from Marjorie, she came to, revived from the coma-like state, or swoon, she had fallen into. She sat bolt upright, eyes wide, and wailing like a banshee. There are differing reports as to the fate of the body snatchers. One states that one of the men dropped dead on the spot from fright. The other, that they both ran for their lives, never to resume their dubious occupation. Whatever the truth of the matter, it's pretty certain that they'd never have forgotten that little misadventure. The bold Marjorie helped herself out of the ground and stumbled the short distance to her home. At home, her husband John was sitting with their children and relatives, bemoaning her passing and toasting her journey to a better place, when the door rapped 3 times. John, still racked with grief, exclaimed, "If your mother were still alive, I'd swear that was her knock." And sure enough, upon opening the door, John was confronted by his late wife, dressed in her burial clothes, dripping from her almost severed finger, but very much alive. John's response is disputed. The most telling of the story agree that he dropped dead on the floor. Now there's a quandary, joy and sadness in equal measure for the rest of the family. Marjorie alive and relatively well, but John deader than Marjorie ever was. He was buried in the plot Marjorie had recently vacated. Marjorie went on to remarry and have several children, although it was rumoured that she left the grave pregnant by an unspecified suitor. When she did finally die, she was returned to Shankle graveyard, and to this day her gravestone still stands. It bears the inscription, "Lived once, buried twice." She is still remembered by townspeople of Lurgan today, and it's said that on occasion she can be seen wandering Shankle Cemetery, perhaps looking for those who wronged her. Hi guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my Facebook page and my Twitter. Both links will be found in the description below.